This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Let's talk about this particular time here in 06. This is a Raw brand pay-per-view. Back when we still had split brand pay-per-views. We're coming right off of WrestleMania 22, where we saw John Cena retain his title by beating Triple H. We also saw Shawn beat Mr. McMahon and Rob Van Dam win the Money in the Bank ladder match and a lot of other stuff. But one of the big things that Wade Keller is talking about on the heels of WrestleMania is a situation regarding Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan. Wade would write, the two have not been around each other much over the years, and as the two biggest stars in WWE's modern history, all eyes were on how they'd interact at the Hall of Fame. The short answer is, at least publicly, they didn't. There are two schools of thoughts. One is that they have a secret pact to have a match at next year's WrestleMania at Ford Field and want to build up a sense of legitimate heat between the two, and hype kicks in for their first and assuredly only match at WrestleMania 30 or 23. The other school of thought has more credibility to it, which is that the match will never happen because the two just don't like each other. They wouldn't be able to agree on a finish or trust each other in a match. Austin is too vulnerable and Hogan vulnerable to a Hogan mistimed move because of his neck, and money doesn't seem to matter enough to Austin to risk it. Here's the story according to several sources in the know, both close to Austin and Hogan. Hogan badly wants a match against Austin, but Austin has been resistant to the idea for several reasons, including those listed above. Vince McMahon offered Austin a 7-figure guaranteed payday to wrestle Hogan at 23, and Hogan has a deal in place where he automatically gets the highest payoff of anyone at WrestleMania. He'd have to waive that, and McMahon would have to offer Austin an obscene amount of money to get him to agree to do that match. And then Wade finishes all of this by saying Austin turned down the formal offer months ago. So, lot to unpack here. I know you're going to poke holes in a lot of this. Let's just go through it piece by piece. I feel like there was some disappointment that Austin and Hogan didn't happen. I kind of thought it would happen at WrestleMania 18. Of course, what we got wound up being probably even better when Hulk wrestled The Rock. But Austin winds up wrestling Scott Hall, and it just feels less than. Do you remember it ever being seriously discussed that perhaps we could do it at WrestleMania 23?
I think that, it was discussed. It was, a lot of things are discussed, but I don't know that at that time that there was ever this set, okay, we're going to do this here, and we're going to do that there. When we got to wherever it was, and we had the Scott Hall match, it was with Steve and Rock and Hogan. Well, one of those guys, Rock and Steve, needed to face two of the NWO guys. And that's just how it fell at the time.
Well, let's talk about the whole Hogan Austin thing. Was there interest in, and let's sort of try and just keep it on the table, or did they really not get along?
I don't think that they didn't not get along. I don't think they interacted enough to get along and or not get along.
Do you think that a match could have happened? Like, would there have been enough trust? Would they have argued over the finish? Were they both sort of thinking they should go over? Talk to me about that.
I think eventually the match probably could have happened had everybody stayed healthy. But you got to keep in mind, at that time, Steve was dealing with a lot of health issues. Steve was dealing with a lot of trust issues. So, to say that that match never would have happened, that's crazy to say, because I think that you just had to get over some of the issues that were basically rearing their head at the time. And that reality in and of itself was something that you had to take into consideration.
What do you make of Vince McMahon offered Austin a 7-figure guaranteed payday to wrestle Hogan at 23?
I find that somebody just wanting to sensationalize a story.
What about this last line here? Hogan has a deal in place where he automatically gets the highest payoff of anyone at WrestleMania. That's not true.
That's people making up stories.
Yeah. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.